Oh, you can read for us, Reshma.
No, it's okay.
You mean you came ready to read, now there's no reading?
I did.
You know, Paul said you've got to be prepared to preach the word in season and out of season. And and my youth leader, when I got saved, used to say you have to be ready to pray, preach, or die at a moment's notice. So the same applies to reading. Yes, Barry.
Last week's lesson, I would really like to have that recording, please.
You should have
I've
asked
been
me.
wanting
She would
to.
have passed on the message and you would have got it immediately.
Maybe I should have considered that, yeah.
Do you see
So-
the bus tire marks over my face? Yeah.
After
Thanksgiving.
last week's session, I have to admit, that was probably the first time I ever wanted to get back to the Greek as soon as possible. Ever since we've started, I was just like, when we're done, like, you have a sigh of relief. But last week was great, and I really want that recording. I need to go through that again.
I haven't been asked for it, not even 100 times.
It's so like you, Kevin, to save all the good
Yeah,
stuff when I'm
that-
not here.
It's so like you not to be here when I say good stuff. This can cut two ways. It's a double-edged sword. All right. So we're probably going to cover the same ground. So, maybe Nanine will ask for the recording this time, and then you might actually get it because
Okay.
she's been a bit lax.
Please, Nanine.
Askies, man. Yeah. It seems
I'm going to say sorry. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I dropped the ball last week. I'm sorry.
Okay. She did ask me maybe 10 times. I thought, who on earth would want to rewatch that? So I thought it was just a scam I was being played.
Yeah.
So I've been working on a document to try and unpack how the Greek verb system works. It is a bit of what I showed you last time, but I'm going to try and walk you through elements of this. So it's theory, you can interrupt at any stage. And I hope it's going to be helpful. I hope it's going to be helpful. So let me start by repositioning. I didn't have time to make slides, so it's just going to be directly from the document. So let me start with the big picture of the Greek verb system. Is that visible? Big enough for you to see?
Yeah.
So Greek verbs occur in four modes, four moods, 6 modes. 4 of them are what they call finite or independent verb forms. So they can stand alone. They can be the main verb in a sentence. The clause will make sense on its own. So there are 4 of those. It's the indicative, the subjunctive, the optative, and the imperative. And then there's 2 non-finite ways that verbs are done. They can't stand alone. They can't be the main verb in a sentence on their own. Those are the participles and infinitives. So when we talk of mood, we are referring to a feature of a verb that presents the action or state with reference to its actuality or potentiality, says Wallace. In other words, how likely is the thing I'm talking about to happen? There are 4 of them. The indicative presents it as highly likely to happen. I'm certain it's going to happen. In fact, it may already have happened, or it's currently happening. And if it's in the future, it's definitely going to happen. So that's the indicative. It's the main one. Vast majority of verbs are indicatives. Then you have the subjunctive, which is the mode of probability. It's likely to happen. Greek originally had an optative, which was the mode of possibility. I don't think it's going to happen, but I hope it does. Or maybe it is. And then there was the imperative, which is I'm commanding someone to do it. So I intend it to happen, but I have no control over whether it's going to happen. It's the least likely form to happen. And all of us have kids. We know the probability of a command being enacted as instructed is about 1 in 20. So those are your 3 things. Now, by the time of the New Testament Greek, where the language is mostly being spoken by second language speakers, like English, Greek had become something of the global commercial language. So it's mostly being spoken by people who aren't first language Greek speakers. And when second language speakers dominate a language, the subtleties often get lost. And one of the subtleties that's being lost is the optative is dropping out. It's almost gone. There's about 80 of them in the New Testament. So few that grammars like Mounce don't even bother to teach you the optative. It's falling away. And what's happening is that the subjunctive is taking over that terrain. So the subjunctive then becomes not only the mood of probability, but also the mood of possibility. So if I go down, that's how they typically defined. You've got subjunctives that were probability, optatives were possibility, and imperatives intentionality, least likely to happen of all of them. But this one's disappearing. So the subjunctive is then becoming both of those. That's happening to the extent that there's thousands of these and only about 80 of these left in the New Testament. Now, from a speaker's point of view, you use the indicative when you want to present something as factual. You're certain it's happened, going to happen, or currently happening. Hence the mood of certainty. You used the subjunctive when you were optimistic something was going to happen. It's probably going to happen. You used an optative when you hoped it might happen or hoped it wouldn't happen, but you didn't really think it was going to. So you would have used an optative in biblical times if you wanted to say, hey, Bafana are going to win the World Cup. That would be an optative. You don't really think it's going to happen, but it's against odds. And you'd use an imperative for a command. And yeah, we simply don't have this much left in our literature. It's fallen by the wayside. So optative is dying out and it's being overtaken by a subjunctive mood. And yeah, I've illustrated that in the diagram, right? So have a look at this diagram and think about the time references that each of these could represent. This one says something probably will happen. This one says it possibly will happen. This one says, well, I intend it to happen. This one says it's definitely happening. Time only applies here. Can you see that? All of these three lie in the future because they talk about an event that's not yet happened. If you command your son, go and make your bed, the bed is currently not made. The action lies in the future. If I say, my son may make his bed, it's not currently made. It may happen in the future. And if I was to say, well, I don't think it's going to happen, but I really hope he makes his bed, which would be putting us here, it's also in the future. So these all describe events that from the viewpoint of the speaker are in the future. They haven't happened yet. And therefore, they actually have no time element to them. They can only happen future from the reference point of the person speaking or writing. Does all of that fit together? Questions, comments, and insults before we move on? Because that's the four main modes that you have, or moods or modes. Any questions at that point? Janine, just speak. You don't need to raise hands.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned there are these four and then two others that are dependent. Are they still coming?
Well, not now. They are the infinitive and the participle.
Okay.
But I'm not dealing with them now. For now, I'm only covering the independent kinds.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So the indicative can also occur in the future. Like if we use your same illustration, my son will be making his bed.
100%. My son will make his bed. When you use the indicative, you are certain that it's going to happen, even though it hasn't yet happened. So you as the speaker, you may be deceived, right? You may have more faith in your son than you should. But when you use the indicative, you are indicating that it is your considered belief that this event will in fact happen. It's most certain. The subjunctive would be, my son may make his bed.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. And the imperative would be, Joshua, make your bed. Got it. All right. So the thing I wanted to point out here is that time only applies here. There's no time element to the other three because they all presuppose something that's not yet happened. They are unavoidably future-oriented, and it's always from the viewpoint of the speaker or the writer. From our viewpoint, things have happened that when they were written as subjunctives, obviously were future.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now if we dig into the indicative system in Greek, so just the indicative verb system, you come up with this idea, well, my idea. They're not unique, but I've never seen it presented quite like this. So in the indicative, you have two time references. You have time past, events that have happened, and they finished. And you have present and future orientation, things that are happening or will happen. The point is that from where I stand right now, they're not yet finished. And then you've got three kinds of action. What is called perfective, which simply means I see it as a whole. The rugby match happened. The match was played, right? That's past tense. Or the match will be played, future. So you can represent a simple action, fact that it's the action happened, it either happened or it will happen. And you can do that in the past or in the future. Then there's imperfective action, which portrays something as ongoing. So it's unfolding at the moment. In the past time, it would mean the match was being played. The match was played. The match was being played. And what this does is it like puts you inside the action. It's like you're sitting in the stand watching while the match is in progress. You are inside the action. Yeah, you are outside the action. You're reading about it in a newspaper after the fact. All this can apply in the present tense. The action is in progress. That's what you know as the Greek present tense. I'm going to call it a future-oriented tense because the action that's in progress hasn't yet finished. From the speaker's point of view, it's ongoing while I'm writing or speaking, and it's going to come to an end at some future point. And then it has state of action, which is a state either existed, but it's now ceased to exist, so it's completed in the past. Or a state presently exists and is the consequence of an action that happened in the past. I am saved, in our Christian jargon, implies I got saved in the past. My present state is that I am saved. And at the time I say that, it's ongoing. Right? What will happen in the future might depend on your own theological convictions, etc. So you've got 6 basic ways Greek can represent action. The focus is on the kind of action. This perfective stuff is simply the fact that something happened or will happen, and you see it as a whole. Or you can have the imperfective approach where it's like I'm standing watching it unfolding. It's happening. Either in the past it was happening or in the present it is happening. And then you've got the state of, which could be a state that existed or one that presently exists and is ongoing into the future. All of these are future-oriented in the sense that the action at the time you write it is not yet complete. It's either still going to happen or it's currently unfolding or it's the state that's in process. Now, you can represent that as a diagram like this. I'll give you a moment to have a look.
We said this last week as well, but just for my brain to process. So the perfective is not the perfect tense.
The perfect tense is a state of tense.
Is a state of tense. Okay.
100%. Yeah. It's a type of action, and perfective means it's complete. It's seen as a whole. So you've got 6 verb types in the indicative mood, and they represent combinations of time and type of action. What tenses are these as you typically find them in Greek grammars? This is the aorist tense. It happened, and it's completed. This is the future tense. It will happen. And I'm not saying anything more about it than the fact that it's going to happen. The match will be played. This is the imperfect tense. It was happening in the past, but it's like your perspective is that you're inside the action, like being in the stadium while the match was being played. You were there, right? This is the present tense where it's happening. And like you, as you write, you're standing here. You with me? Present is a moment. So as you write, you're standing right where my arrow is, and that action is ongoing. And the present tense can be ongoing for quite a long time or a very brief time. It doesn't tell you that. The context and the type of verb would have to convey that. Barry.
So, but the perfective cannot be in a present tense.
There's
Because
no time perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's either happened or it's gonna happen. As soon as you start talking about it, then it's going to imperfective.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And this is the range of encoding that the language has, right? In Afrikaans, you have nothing like this.
Nope.
You only have you've got a single past tense in Afrikaans. And that past tense can't distinguish something was in progress from the simple fact that it happened. So in Afrikaans, these two are indistinguishable. But context would give you an idea. So if you were reading an article, you can frame your language in such a way that the person reading it feels like you were there. So you can do that. It just doesn't have a tense that does that.
Yeah.
This is the pluperfect tense, which Mounce doesn't really treat if memory holds. So this, like the optative, is almost dead. It's dying out in New Testament times. There are a few of them, but not many. And this is the perfect tense. The action happened in the past. It results in a state that's ongoing, and that state may or may not come to an end in the future. Okay, so big picture, that is the kind of way that verbs can represent action. In the indicative, they have a time component. You've got 3 past tenses, and you've got 3 tenses that are present/future oriented. And then each kind of action has 1 tense that belongs to each time category. Tell me if that's going too fast or if that is a paradigm that we can work with.
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right. Now, when you start learning verbs,
Just one question, Kevin. Sorry. Can you just go back to it quickly? So the state of the past, you said with the present, that's an action that started, it's ongoing, and it may or may not end in the future.
yes,
But then the state of past, then we would say that that is an action that happened, continued, and do we know if that has ended or not?
it may or may not end.
But the past, state of past,
Oh, this one. So this one, an
is
action
that the
happened.
same?
Yeah, an action happened. It resulted in a state, and that state has now come to an end.
Okay.
So if you were to think of
So-
it in military terms, think of it like the Greeks conquered the Persians and ruled the world, right? So they conquered the Persians. That was an action, a moment in time. And then they ruled the world. That was a state. But I'm now writing thousands of years later. They no longer rule the world. So their
Yes.
rule has come to an end.
Okay.
All right. Whereas if they were still in power, this line would have to extend into the present time.
Yes. Okay.
So that's
a good.
The verb system has these ways of encoding information, and in the indicative, it combines time and type of action called aspect. The aspect is, I see it as a whole, perfective. I see it in progress, continuous, or I see it as a resultant state, stative. Any other questions? Can I move on?
Yep.
Now, the good news is, maybe it's bad news. The language actually encodes these 6 things very clearly. The 3 past time forms all use an augment. And the present future oriented ones don't use an augment. Which means the moment you see an augment, you're looking at a past time verb form. When you learn the aorist tense, you're told it starts with an augment, right? But when you go and learn the aorist subjunctive, the augment disappears. Why? Because it's a past time marker. It's telling you that this happened in the past, and the subjunctive is not past time. It's got no time reference. If anything, it's future. All right. Then the perfective, which you know as the aorist tense and the future tense, uses the tense formative sigma. That sigma tells you it's perfective. It's an aspect morpheme. The imperfectives don't use that sigma. And the statives use reduplication. And then in the active, they use kappa. So when I see an augment, past time. When I see a form that's got a sigma suffix added to it, I'm looking at perfective action type. When I see one that doesn't have anything added to it, it's likely imperfective. There's one important exception that we'll cover later. And when I see reduplication, I'm looking at a state of action type, either past tense, if it was this, which you'll almost never see in the New Testament. They're very rare. Or the present future oriented stative. So if you learn to recognize these simple diagnostics, you're halfway home to knowing what you're looking at in terms of these things. They're reasonably well encoded. These are connecting vowels. So when you learn the aorist tense, which is the perfective, past perfective, you learn it as sa. It's actually the sigma, which is the tense format, the aspect formative plus the connecting vowel alpha. And then these are time endings. All right. Now, there are 2 types of endings. Mounce tells you they're primary and secondary. They're actually past and future. This you have to memorize. These are the verb endings. There's no way around it. You have to memorize the personal endings. So you should know immediately when you see these endings at the end of a verb form, you should immediately know what they are. This one and this one change form, so they're hard to recognize. But the rest you pretty much see as they look here. The past tenses take these endings. All 3 of them. The ones that have the augment, they take, I've called them past active and past middle endings. Some of them are the same, like these ones are the same, but not all of them are. Right? And the present or future tenses take these endings. So the set of endings used matches to the time element. So there are 2 things that tell you time, augment and which endings are in play. I know I'm going fast. But this you need to memorize, like completely memorize it. It should be the one thing that's totally memorized because it tells you so much about what you're looking at. The rest you can mostly learn to recognize. Okay, I'm going to skip over that. So what is past perfect? Well, it's the aorist tense is what you've been taught, right? Past perfect. What building blocks are you going to have? This is not very cleverly thought out. Yeah. All right. So for your past perfectives, which is your aorist, that's what it did. It duplicated it. Okay. You'll have an augment plus you'll have the tense formative sigma that sometimes drops out. It's actually an aspect formative. Connecting vowel and a personal ending. This is a past tense. It's going to use the past endings. Remember these ones? These are the endings for the past tenses. These are the endings for the present or future-oriented tenses. So this is a past tense. It's going to use the past endings. And from there, there's really nothing to memorize. If you recognize the sigma, which usually goes with alpha, and the augment, and you know the endings, this is completely predictable. You don't need to memorize the paradigm. I'm showing you the paradigm, but if you had the endings and you recognize the sigma with the alpha connecting vowel plus the augment, you know exactly what you're looking at. There's nothing to memorize, nothing. It can be recognized just from those diagnostics, provided you know the endings. Have to know the endings. All right. And there's the middles for the same. And there's again nothing to memorize. These are just the middle endings added. This one does weird stuff. Why? Because the actual ending starts with a sigma. And sigmas are chaotic. They cause all kinds of chaos in anything they touch. We won't talk about what gender a sigma is. So that is totally consistent once you know that sigma is your diagnostic for the past tense and the alpha is the connecting vowel. But you see it as sigma alpha. You always see it as sigma alpha. Okay. So those are the middles. Now, only the perfective tenses, the aorist and the future, they are the only ones that have a distinct passive form. And they've got a theta epsilon, and that almost always goes to eta. So wherever you see this theta, that's what it appears like. You're looking at you're looking at a past perfective. How do I know it's past form? I'll see the epsilon. The augment tells me it's past time. And then the aspect formative is they. They becomes they. Right. It's a past tense. What endings is it going to have? It's going to have the past tense endings, which is ni, sigma, nothing, men, te, sound. If you knew the endings, this makes itself. It's augment plus the they plus the past tense endings. Nothing to learn if you know the endings and you know the building blocks, right? Okay, one anomaly about the aorist passive, which is the past perfective passive, it takes active endings. Always takes active endings in all its forms. Why? I can't tell you. It just does. It's like a trance tense. And then you got the future perfective verbs. Again, there's nothing. That sigma is telling me that it's perfective action type. There's no augment, so it's future time. Pretty much. Thay is aorist passive, Sa is aorist active and middle. Yeah, that's what you see. This is completely regular. There's no augment. We use the connecting vowels O and E, and we can build our whole future tense. It's luso, luses, lusei, lusomen, lusete, lususi. If you know these endings, there's nothing to memorize here either. So you have to know the endings. It's like learning the article for nouns. Learn the endings. All right. These are the middles. And the passives for the future, it just combines they with the sigma. And then there's nothing else to memorize. It uses the middle endings, as you would expect for a passive form. So those building blocks become easy to recognize. You don't need to memorize the paradigm. You actually can work it out if you know the endings.
Yeah.
All right. Then we come to the future perfectives, imperfective. So this is what you know as the present tense. And all it is the noun stem plus the connecting vowel plus the future endings. That's all it is. It's identical to the future perfective, except that adds a sigma. What does that sigma do? It turns it from imperfective action, ongoing, to simple action. It happened. The removal of that sigma. Same endings, same building blocks. That's the middle passive. The two singular is always the most irregular form. The good news is they don't occur very often. The films that occur often are the one singulars, the three singulars because of narrative, he did this, and the they versions. Those are the ones that occur a lot. Imperfects, suddenly we got the augment because the past imperfective is a past time verb. So the moment you get the augment back, you're looking at a past time action. Connecting vowel O and E for the imperfectives, past tense endings. What are the past tense endings? Ni, sigma, nothing, or a movable ni, mente, nin. Same building blocks. That's the middle. In all forms except the perfectives, the middle and passive look the same. So only context would allow you to distinguish if something's middle or passive. We ran into some headaches with that last time. Then the statives. This is the past stative, what's called the pluperfect. Most people call it the pluperfect tense. And it's the only one with all 6 building blocks. But you almost never find it in the New Testament. So it has an augment that sometimes drops out, then reduplication. That kappa is the stative active tense formative. You're used to seeing it as kappa alpha, which is for the perfect tense. That alpha is a connecting vowel. The actual connecting vowel for the pluperfect is simply epsilon iota. And if I do this, you'll see these are totally consistent. They use epsilon iota, that kappa, etc., and you get a very regular pattern. You don't need to memorize that. Mounts doesn't even teach it because it's become so rare. But I wanted to put it in for completeness. And then when we come to the future statives, or what you know as the perfect tense, it's reduplication, a kappa that sometimes falls out, alpha epsilon, and this is a future tense. It uses future, or present future. It uses the future endings, and that's what it looks like. I know it's a lot. I'm not expecting you to take it in. What I want to point out is how regular the verb system is.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah,
if you learn
there's
the
a pattern, you can see it.
If you learn the endings and you recognize the pattern, you can start to recognize the overwhelming majority of forms.
Mhm.
And then in the middle passive for the past stative, it doesn't have any aspect formative. I had it as tier for type formative. It just has the reduplication, but that reduplication is a giveaway. Anytime you see reduplication, you're looking at a stative. Absolute giveaway. I'm happy to share the document, but it's a work in progress. I'm happy to share what I've shared today. I'll save a version of it. It's a
Thank
work
you.
in progress, which means I'm going to change it 50 times before it's finished and add a whole bunch at the end. But I wondered if it wasn't helpful to see the whole picture of the verb system before you start diving into memorizing them one by one. Because that's literally everything for
Yeah.
the internet. That's all there is. And for the most part, if you just learn the endings, inside out, back to front, you need to know the endings. And if you know the endings inside out, back to front, you can simply learn the telltale signs for all the other things. The sigma that's added, you see the sigma added, you know it's a perfective type, meaning simple action. If you see an augment, you know it's a past tense. If you see a kappa alpha, you know it's a perfective. If you see reduplication, you know it's a stative, etc. So there are exceptions. It's not totally as neat as this, but this covers like 90% of verbs that you're going to encounter. Questions, comments, or insults?
I think for myself, the big challenge is not understanding the English grammar and tenses. When you say imperfect or perfective or present, my brain doesn't automatically know what we're talking about. I have to sit down and think about what we are saying. So I think that'll just be something that I'll have to practice that and keep practicing until it becomes second nature, like Afrikaans.
100%. What's a little bit sad is that the early Greek grammars used English grammar to frame the language in which they spoke about Greek. So they branded all these things tenses. You got the present tense, the aorist tense, the imperfect tense, the perfect tense, the pluperfect tense, and the future tense, right? Because English is a very time-oriented language. Everything's about time. And only later did Greek grammarians begin to fully understand that a lot of what Greek encodes is about the type of action, whether it's viewed as a whole, whether it's in some sense ongoing, or whether it's this completed event with a continuing state. They only got that fully sometime later. And then started to use the language of perfective and imperfective. Perfective meaning it's completed, and imperfective it's ongoing or continuous. And they're not always tenses. So the moment we get to the subjunctives or the imperatives, it makes little sense to say it's a present imperative, because all imperatives are future. Go to church, go make your bed, etc. They're actually all future. And you'll see in English, we only have one imperative in English. So there's no such thing as a past imperative or same with the subjunctive.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to have markers that denote time to describe subjunctives. But unfortunately, because of what happened when Greek grammars first started being written, we inherit all this jargon of present and future and whatnot, which actually is not always helpful.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to break free of, because all the literature uses that terminology. So the moment you open a commentary, it's going to tell you this is an aorist tense imperative. Well, what's an aorist tense imperative? It's an imperative that's simply seeing the action as a whole. Or it's a present tense imperative. It's seeing the action as in some sense ongoing. All right. So we have a legacy language issue as well, in that we used our categories based on English, which is heavily time-based. I think Afrikaans would be heavily time-based as well. You would literally have tenses, right? Whereas it's much less.
Yeah, but I think because it's second nature, it's you don't think about it, you just know it. When whatever you say, you just know it's just there.
In a mother tongue, you never analyze.
Yeah.
So in a mother tongue, you never think of what you're saying. You just internalize how you say things. It's only when you try and learn another language by comparison to your mother tongue that you have to start thinking about, well, how do we encode and what does that mean? So I learned English by learning Greek. Before I learned Greek, I didn't know what an adverb was, couldn't recognize an adjective in English. I couldn't label them. I couldn't break them apart. It was only when I learned Greek that they tried to teach you that at school, but it's like it went in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
And then when I learned Greek, I started, okay. so that's a pronoun. But that's because you never need to break apart your own spoken language. Stuff happens intuitively. And the Greeks would have done all of this intuitively. We're doing it a bit analytically. All right. So that's the big picture. We're back where we started, by the way. Nanine.
I just want to ask a quick question, and I'm talking out of very little knowledge. I read it once. So is this why the subjunctive does not have a tense formative? If I remember correctly.
The subjunctive actually does have a tense. It has an aspect formative. All right. I'll do the subjunctive.
Okay.
I'll do the subjunctive with you next time we meet
Okay.
and show you how it's put together.
There's something missing in a subjunctive that's not there in an indicative.
It doesn't have the augment. It doesn't have the augment. That's what it doesn't have. Do I have subjunctives here? Yeah.
But that also future and present also doesn't have the augments.
Yes, because the augment denotes past time.
Yes.
So past time, no subjunctive is talking about an event in the past. They're all talking about future events.
Future event. Okay.
So in what you know is this is the aorist subjunctive. It's actually the the perfective subjunctive would be more correct. It's a action. All subjunctives are in the future, so there's no augment. And then it's looking at it as a whole. You will also find there's no augment on an imperative. There's never an augment on a participle or an infinitive. Augments only apply to the indicative. Why? Because only the indicative has time. No other type of the way the verb is formed encodes for time.
Okay. And they have the connecting vowels and they have the endings as well.
They do. So
how would I recognize the difference between a future?
You wouldn't.
Indicative. Of course you wouldn't.
They look the same.
Why not?
So Luso could be a future active indicative or a aorist subjunctive. So it can be both. There's a few of those that can be both.
So how do you know the difference? Don't say context.
Context.
Yeah.
Van die context af.
Yeah.
The indicative often has associated words. You know, like if you see N, you know there's a dative noun coming because the N always goes with a dative.
Mm-hmm.
The subjunctives very frequently occur with ean, hina, hopos, or an. And if any of those occur, then it's a subjunctive.
Okay.
And I would say 2/3, if not 80% of all subjunctives will have one of those four things in combination. So there's very often another thing in the context that marks it. Distinguishing a subjunctive from a future is very, very seldom a problem. I can't think offhand of one New Testament example exegetically significant where that's a problem.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
it's just a non-issue. All right, so what does the subjunctive do? The subjunctive takes, do I have it here? The subjunctive takes the connecting vowels A and O. Whereas the aorist takes alpha and epsilon. All right, so I got that a bit wrong, but anyhow. So the connecting vowels are always eta and omega. And for the rest, they're very, very regular. You'll notice something interesting. They all use the future tense endings. Why?
Because the action hasn't occurred yet.
Action hasn't occurred. The ending they use is consistent with the fact that it's not a past event, it's a future event. So if you're thinking of aorist tense, it's confusing because in the indicative, the aorist uses the past tense endings, and in the subjunctive, it uses the non-past endings. So logically, that doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't the aorist tense always use the same endings? Well, because the one encodes for time and the other doesn't. So let me take a text quickly and just put one up if I can find my word processor. No,
Bye, Kevin.
Hamagashli.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Remember to ask Nanine for the recording because she's not very good about following up with it.
I'll take the full boss, it's fine.
How many times did you ask?
A few.
100. A few hundred. All right, let's go to John 1 and see what we can spot here. Let's make that bigger. No, that's not bigger. View, how big can we go?
While you're looking for that, Kevin, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it. So when we talk about the perfective, the imperfective, and the stative, we are talking about aspect. No, we're talking about mood, aspect.
We are talking about aspect.
Yes,
Yeah.
because it's the way in which an action has occurred.
It's the type of
or
action.
will occur.
Yeah, it's the type of action. I've grappled with other words. You could think of like a summary action or continuous action or state of being. We could look for other
things. Okay.
categories. All right. So all the verbs are highlighted. I'm just going to start pointing out a few. These are what are known as second aorists. They don't fit my pattern, so they're going to be a category on their own. This is martire. You've got a sigma, and then an eta, and then the iota subscript, which is the third singular ending form. Sigma, perfective. Eta is the connecting vowel for the subjunctive. The iota ending is third singular. This should be an aorist active subjunctive third singular. There's a hina. So hina is one of those key words that tells you hina martirese, in order that he might bear witness. Yes, pistusosin, perfective marker, the sigma. Omega connecting vowel tells you it's subjunctive. Sin, the three plural ending. They might believe. And there's a hina. In order that they might believe. Martirese we've already had. Photize, there's no augment. Epsilon or omicron connecting vowel is consistent with it being imperfective action. Third singular ending, photize. He, she, it gives light, enlightens. You would know it as present active indicative. Erhomenon, erh is the stem, o is a connecting vowel. Omicron connecting vowel is consistent with it being imperfective. Omicron epsilon. Men are passive participators. On is the case ending. So Panta anthropon, every man, erhomenon coming. Eston kosmon. You can see the coming is ongoing. It's every man coming into the world. There's a repeat. It's an incomplete action. There'll be another man coming, and then another man coming, and then another. People are continually coming into the world, so it's ongoing. The type of action's encoded, but a participle doesn't have absolute time. All right, there's some second aorists that we'll skip over. A whole bunch of second aorists. We haven't done infinitives. This is from Genao. What do we see? Augment, it's a past time. And then you see a they. They is passive. And san is a 3 plural. So this is will be born. He will be born of God. That's a passive. We got another second aorist. We won't worry about that. Yeah, we've got another verb. The noun stem or the verb stem is skeno. Skeno. We see the augment. We see the sigma, this time with a connecting vowel epsilon, which is past. It's perfective action type. And this combination is your third singular form, so that he might enlighten or shine upon us. There are is our verb. We see an augment, so we know it's past. We see a sigma with an alpha, which tells us that it's perfective, aorist, if you wish. And we see the one plural ending metha. This is the middle ending that we might behold, or that we will behold. Sorry, we beheld. It's past. Sorry, we beheld. And we beheld his glory. Already done that one. We haven't done that yet, but we won't do it now. Here's a verb you don't know. From didomi, the stem is actually do. What do you see? Augment, past time, they, perfective passive, no case ending. It's going to be perfective passive third singular. The law, it was given, dia Moises, through Moses. Now, the actual giving of the law, if we read it in Exodus, took quite a protracted period of time. There was the first version, and then he broke it, and he went back up, so that the actual event took quite a while, right? But here it's not looking at the internal details. The perfective just looks back on the law was given. It didn't matter whether it took a minute or 10 years, it was given. Simple fact summary that it happened. Here's another one. This one's not so easy because that's a preposition in compound. And then we've got ageomai. If I click here, you should be able to see. There's the word in the dictionary. And the actual word. Okay, never mind. Let's try that again. So the actual word is hege. So we got X, A, ge, sa. What is sa? Effective. And the ta, the past ending for the three singular. You'd have to learn the ta part. So yeah, there's no augment showing. Why is there no augment showing? Because the actual verb stem starts with eta, and eta can't lengthen. If it started with epsilon, it would lengthen to eta, but the word starts with eta. Eta can't lengthen. That's just the preposition ek added in the front. So sometimes you can't augment. There's no augment. Does it matter? Not really, because we can still see the sigma alpha, indicative of the perfective, past perfective, because the future perfective uses omicron as its connecting vowel. And then that's a past ending. So even though there's no augment, there's enough clues that this is a past perfective middle, three singular. It's got the middle endings. Egesato, so what have we got? Our own eston kolpon tu patros ekenos ex egesato. He will tell us about. That one will tell us. Some has told us, etc. Okay. Yeah, we've got another one. This one's also interesting. We've got the verb is apostello. So you can recognize it's got the preposition apo. The verb actually starts with the letters stel. But we've added an augment. So what does that tell you? Past time. You would normally have a sigma here. The sigma's dropped out. The sigma drops out before liquid verbs. So this one's got a lambda. Drops out before words that end in L, M, N, and R. So if you just learn that the sigma alpha, the sigma sometimes drops out, that alpha is what remains. Augment plus the alpha connecting vowel plus the ni is a past perfective 3 plural form. They sent, the Jews sent from Jerusalem, etc. All right, let's leave it there. Final comments or questions, Nanine, if you have any.
No questions. That's a lot to process, but thank you so much. That was wonderful. It's good to put all the information into a little bit of a structure in terms of how they fit with the perfective, the imperfective, and the stative. That's helped me a lot to just organize the information I have a bit better in my mind. Yeah, so thanks for that. That was great.
100%. Yeah, I know it's drinking from a fire hose in terms of trying to absorb everything. That's the big picture, though. So in its totality, that's the whole indicative verb system presented in 45 minutes, which is covered over 10 chapters in Mounce's grammar. Obviously, there's a lot more to learn, and there are some exceptions. There's second aorist verbs which don't fit my paradigm. They're a category on their own, but for the most part, it's fairly consistent.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the subjunctive lesson. There's a lot of things that look the same. The eta with the subscript, I thought was a second singular ending. And it wasn't, because it was a subjunctive.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Yes.
So I would have misdiagnosed that if I didn't know. Yeah.
That is potentially confusing. The middle two singular often goes to eta with a subscript. So lue would be luamai, lue, luetai, that two singular one. And it does that because the sigma, the personal ending with sigma, causes anomalies. However, those two singular middles are quite rare, and three singular subjunctives are very common. So when you see one, you're much more likely to be looking at a subjunctive.
Okay.
Now, how else would you know? Well, the eta with a subscript, when it's a subjunctive, is going to be third person. So if your context implies that you're talking about a third person thing, he, she, or it, there's a subject that is a man or Jesus or something like that, then it can't be the second middle. And if your context has those four key words, hina, hopos, ano, ean, then you're always looking at a subjunctive.
Okay.
So there's always markers. They're not always in the word, but there's markers in the sentence that you don't actually have exegetically significant examples where that is we're not sure. Is this a subjunctive third singular, or is it a indicative two singular? They're always clear in context, those ones.
Okay, thank you.
Some aren't. Some other categories where the endings are the same aren't clear, but those ones are clear. Yeah. All right, I will send you a version of the document insofar as I've got it. Please, it's not for dissemination. It's a work in progress. It's for you to use for reference. I would really ask you not to share it. Mostly because I'm probably going to change it dramatically, and I am hoping to develop it to something more comprehensive. So consult it if it helps, but don't share it.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. I'm Magashli.
Thank you.
Bye bye.